and welcome back to By Myself But Not Alone. This is episode 21, Fresno, California. Now, this is the final show of the third leg of the tour, so the series is 60% of the way complete. Maybe 59. I'm going to do a little short episode from Fresno to home, just for the sake of the continuous flow of the series. It just seems to make sense to end this episode in Fresno because quite a few interesting things happened between Fresno and Mascoutah. So I'm just going to add a little additional video that takes care of the trip home. So at the end of the last episode, we got up in Sacramento, we checked out of our miniature hotel, and we headed for McDonald's. When we got there, we hit the drive-thru, we pulled around and parked for a minute, and when I turned the key off, we heard the ocean rushing under the hood. It was just a weird water sound that was getting progressively worse. We had been hearing it all along. When Rob was with us, he thought we were nuts. He said, "You're hearing things." But then he finally heard it, and he said, "Oh, that's no big deal. That's the new coolant system in these new cars." So that was good enough for me. I'm a mechanical idiot. We just never really gave it much more thought. But in the past couple days, we'd hear it when we were at stoplights, and we'd hear it when we turned the car off, and it was getting louder. So I finally got out. I decided to make sure there was some coolant in the old radiator. It didn't appear to be low at all. I didn't know what else to do. I decided to call the rental agency just to see what would happen in the case of a breakdown. And the guy said, "Well, if you feel unsafe, we can send a guy out right now to swap them out, but it might take 3 or 4 hours. It's the weekend." That's something that never makes sense to me. So many rental agencies are closed on the weekend that's when people do a lot of traveling, but never mind that. Well, I told him we didn't really have 4 or 5 hours and we weren't broken down. I just kind of wanted to check and see what would happen if if they were going to have trouble getting someone out there on a Saturday. What would happen if we broke down on Sunday? And he said, no, we'll get you a car anytime you break down. It just might be a little bit of a wait. We decided to roll the dice. Joe Sib was doing a comedy set at a local club in Fresno. And we figured with such a short trip between the two cities, there was really no reason why we couldn't go check out Joe's show and hang out with some of the other black ticket holders. The trip was only about 170 miles, and we'd be there in about 2.5 hours. We were up pretty early, so we did consider going to the Goodwill, but we decided that we still don't know for sure that we're not going to break down, so we might as well go ahead and give ourselves all the time to deal with that just in case it happens. So we jumped on Interstate 5 and headed down to Fresno. It seemed like we might be coming back into areas where there were still smoldering fires. It seemed awfully smoky, but we didn't smell the smoke on the level that we did coming out of Portland. And old Sherlock Holmes had to get on her phone and get to the bottom of it, and she found out that it was smoke combined with fog, and it was mostly fog actually. Every now and then the fog would lift and we'd see various types of orchards, and I've seen lots of fields in my life with fruit trees growing in them, but nothing on the magnitude, the level of what we were seeing. They just seemed to go on forever. We actually got off the highway and drove a giant block around just to look at the rows of the trees. It definitely felt to me like I was in California. What I would expect to see in California. I'd only been one other time to San Francisco, and I didn't leave the city. So again, it was a really nice drive. We were getting really close in what seemed to be no time at all, and before we got into the city, we figured it might be smart to go ahead and pull off and get some gas. So that's what we did. We took the next exit. I hadn't paid attention to any of the signs. I didn't know where we were. I didn't care. I'd kind of gotten accustomed to Michelle telling me to go straight, left, right, just pretty much. She told me where to go, and that's where I went. So what happened next caught me completely off guard. I mean, it blindsided me. We pulled in the gas station, filled up with gas. We pulled over to check the air in the tires and have a smoke. I was standing there staring at a sign across the road, and I must have subconsciously enjoyed the color or the shape of the sign because I never bothered to read it. I stood there staring at it for quite a good amount of time before I read it. But when I did read it, my heart started racing instantly as if I'd seen a ghost, and in fact, I had. About 4.5 years earlier, I had left school about a year short of completion. 3 years before that, I had returned to school, and I was enrolled in a speech pathology graduate program. And to make a long story short, I hit a point where I realized that on behalf of those I aimed to help, I wasn't going to be very good at what I was trying to do. It takes a certain type of person, a special type of person, to be a good speech pathologist, and I'm just too unorganized to be that person. I really thought I was in the right place, but I can't tell you how many times I heard the professor say, just fake it until you make it. There was one that said it more than the rest of them, but they all said it from time to time. That's just something that never sat well with me. I could never embrace that mindset. Now, I understand that's just a catchy little phrase to pretty much promote confidence in a time of an unsureness. They were throwing a ton of information at us from all angles. So trust me, I get it. It was actually probably at times a much needed message. I could understand the underlying message in what they were saying, but again, I could just never find myself buying into that. In my opinion, I was pretty certain that if I had to fake it for any length of time in regard to anything, I could rest assured that I probably wasn't ever going to truly make it. And that was about that. It took about one semester for me to realize that the party was just about over, and I would have cut it short then, but I didn't because of my assignment of one particular client in the clinic. Now that's a completely different story, but in the first semester of the graduate program, we had a side project in one of the classes. The side project was based on doing readings from this book, and then before each class we would discuss it for 15 or 20 minutes. The purpose of the project was to emphasize how cultural difference can clash in clinical treatment as well as in life in general. The name of the book was The Spirit Catches You and You Fall Down by Ann Fatima, and it took place in Merced, California. It was a brilliant book that caught and held my attention more than anything else that I can remember from my time at school there, with the only exception being my interaction with the client I mentioned. So if you're wondering where the hell I'm going with this, why am I telling you this? When I finally read the sign, it said Merced Inn and Suites. When it finally hit me, I started to look around and I knew where I was. The book was based on a true story that took place, like I said, right there in Merced, California. Michelle didn't mind, so we jumped in the car and took a quick drive around, and the author of that book, Ann Fatima, she painted a perfect picture of that town, and I felt like I was definitely in a place that I had been before. And I finally made it back. It had been a while, but that familiar feeling, that awesome feeling of return, I just can't tell you how excited that made me in that moment. While we were driving around, I realized how strange it was that my return to this place, where I learned invaluable lessons on cultural diversity, happened right in the middle of the biggest exposure to cultural diversity that I've ever experienced, my black ticket experience. This was yet another gift of the black ticket. When I left that program, I didn't look back with an ounce of regret. I met a lot of amazing people who are really good at what they do. And until recently, I maintained that that was the absolute best 3 years of my life. The only thing that's changed is I now say that my 3 years at SIUE were 3 of the best years of my life. They still rank right up there, but what's happened to me in the last 3 years in the Metallica world, nothing can touch it. The last 3 years of my life are now the best 3 years of my life. And the best part about the whole thing, I didn't have to fake it, not one step of the way. So from that very moment until right now, I've never felt so comfortable being in my own skin. I feel like I'm on the right path. Who knows where we're going? Yep, I might just be a diehard Metallica fan, but as many of you know, that's just not a bad thing to be. At the end of the day, you got to follow your dreams. So we got back on the highway, and for the next 45 minutes, Michelle got to hear a little longer version of what I just told you. So in that little trip, something that I thought was really cool about it was that I didn't really have to explain much of the why, any of it. She just seemed to understand what I was saying, and she agreed I made the right choice. And I'm not the biggest fan of saying nice things about Michelle, but I got to admit, that was pretty cool. I didn't have to explain myself. She just seemed to get it. So by the time we made it to Fresno, it was still really early in the day. We got ourselves checked in, we got ready, we went and got something to eat, and we headed down to a local bar called Strummer's. That's where Joe's comedy show was going to be. When we got there, it was good to see that there were quite a few black ticket holders that had shown up, and it didn't take long for the place to become pretty packed. And pretty soon the first of 4 acts was on stage. Then again, the guy in the number 2 slot, he was kind of struggling, but the other 2 guys, not counting Joe, they were hilarious. They kind of made up for the other dude, and Joe just killed it. Joe had an awesome show. If you know who he is from the tour or for other reasons, or maybe you're just curious, if you ever get the chance, check out Joe Sib's comedy live, or look him up here on YouTube. He's incredibly down to earth, and that might be part of the reason he's such a good comedian. Check him out. After the show, we hung out for a while. That's when we realized how many members of MetFam actually showed up. It wasn't just a lot of black ticket holders. Quite a few of the crew members showed up. When I started working on this episode, I realized that I just didn't have many pictures from that night. So I started shooting messages to people that I knew were there. And most people didn't have many pictures from that night. And that's something, in hindsight, I look back, I clearly remember that. Maybe it's part of what made that night so great. And I mean, people were pulling their cameras out, snapping pictures, getting pictures with each other. But it wasn't like being at the concerts where half the people have their phone out and just ready to go. And it's not a bad thing. And look what I do. I can't say anything about it. But that night, there wasn't a lot of that. It was just a really good night hanging out with a lot of friends. I'll never forget it. And again, excellent show, Joe. You rocked it. thank you. So we headed back to the hotel. We got up early the next morning. We headed down to the Save Mart Center. But first we had to get coffee. So when Michelle suggested the way we should go, the way we had gone out the night before, I said, but wouldn't it make sense to go out the way we came in? You know, we made this giant circle, and she said go one way, and I said go the other way. She said, but didn't you happen to notice all the train tracks we're going to have to go over if we go that way? And I said, yeah, let's just go. Come on, we need coffee. And we went my way. A couple minutes later, we found ourselves staring at the red lights that were flashing as the train went by. She couldn't resist. She had to rub it in. She said, is there any other brilliant idea that you feel the need to share with me while we have this time? I said, nope, I'm good. Why don't you just button your lip and watch the train like everyone else in the car? She rolled her eyes. Pretty soon the train was gone. We got our coffee and we made it down to the Save Mart Center. When we got there, we saw that there was already a good amount of people there as early as it was. And you know the routine, Michelle jumped in line and I got busy yapping. I got to hand out some black ticket patches. I got some good interviews. I finally got to interview our friend Svet. He's the wild Bulgarian from Connecticut. And after we did our interview, we headed back to the car, and he went to his car and I went to ours, and we both got a handful of guitar picks and we did some trading. Then when we made it back up to the building, my phone rang. It rang once, it stopped, and then a text message came through, and it was Joe Sib. The night before, he had said, I'll give you a call at some point in the afternoon. We'll meet up and we'll do an interview. That's exactly what happened. I was thrilled. I didn't think that it wasn't going to happen, but, you know, those guys, they live a crazy lifestyle. I figured, you know, brace yourself. It might not happen. But I got that call. We met up. I'm just going to shut up about the interview. I would strongly recommend that you go back and watch the interview. It was posted quite a while ago. As soon as I got home from the third leg, Alexander got busy and we posted it right up. I really didn't want to waste Joe's time, and if I would have waited till the Fresno episode, look how long we would have waited. Who knew? So the video's been up for quite a while, but it was a really good interview. And I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about Joe. He really threw out some information, and we got a really good feeling who Joe Sib really is. It was fun doing it, but it was very informative, so you might go back and check it out. Shortly after that, we were back in line, and they were starting to let us in to form a line inside. While we were waiting in line there, I got to talk to my friend Robert Gonzalez from LA. He wasn't feeling too sure about his sign. He had made a sign that said, how about a stick for the stocking? And he put a Christmas stocking on it, and I said, dude, you got a stick. It ain't happened yet, but congrats. And he's like, what do you mean? He was unsure of the idea. He said he had to think long and hard. Should I do this? And I said, what's the question? Lars is going to see that sign and he's going to put a stick in the stocking. It's done. He was really nervous about it. He laughed at the whole notion of doing it. And he said, I'll believe it when it happens. But he contacted me when I got home after the third leg, and he said, sure enough, Lars came right up and stuck a stick in his stocking. So congrats on that one, Robert. That was brilliant. It worked. Right on, brother. And since we didn't make it to the rail in Sacramento, I decided we'll give it one more shot. And when we got inside, we were successful in getting our spot on the rail. It happened to be on one of the side aisles. There's a lot of action coming and going all night behind you. But we were on the rail and we weren't going anywhere. It was me and Michelle, and Svet was right there. And then another black ticket friend, Tommy Burke, he was just a couple people down. He had made a sign too. It was his 30th birthday and his 34th show, and he made a sign that said that, but he wasn't trying to get a stick. He was trying to get Lars to switch hats with him at the end of the show or at some time during the show. And I don't think he was successful. Robert was, Tommy wasn't. They both get an A for effort, and it's always fun to see who comes up with what sign. You know, everybody's trying to get that stick from Lars or, you know, whatever. The signs aren't always about getting something. Sometimes it's just a message, but I love the rail signs. And on the right side, we had a young chick and her mom. They're really, really cool to hang out with. And right behind them, I saw a black ticket hanging around the guy's neck. I didn't recognize him. And when I asked him about the black ticket, I pointed to my patch and I told him about it, and I asked him if he had gotten one yet. I told him he didn't look familiar, and he said, well, don't you remember in Madison? It turns out that my friend Jeff and I had met this guy in Madison, and we basically stood next to each other during the whole show. And I apologized. I said, man, I've met so many people, and kind of caught him up as to where we were. His name was Scott Wilms, I believe, but I need to look him up and make sure I got his black ticket intro. But anyway, shout out, Scott. I'm glad you called me out. Jim came out, did his thing. The band came out. Once again, they did their thing. They killed it in front of nearly 15,000 people. It was another sold-out show. I ended up getting my 2 picks. Actually, I got a handful of picks, more than I normally got, but I kept 2 of them. And because of all the help that I had been receiving along the lines in getting my 2, I just started handing them out to anybody who didn't get one. Svet was on the other side doing the same thing, and Tommy was a pick magnet, but ironically, Tommy doesn't collect picks, and he really enjoys giving them to other people. That's one thing that really deserves some credit about that guy. Good on you, Tommy. And again, when I was making the video, I had the exact same problem with the show itself as I had with the pictures from Strummers the night before. I just didn't have too many pictures once we got in the arena. That's kind of the downside of doing the rail. I mean, I got some, but I ended up doing something that I haven't been doing all along. For the most part, I've been intentionally avoiding using pictures of the band. You know, good, clear shots, close-ups. I've avoided that. It's not that I haven't had the pictures or had access to the pictures. A lot of people got a lot of great pictures. But as I stated in the first episode, the focus of my project has been Metallica fans, not so much the band. You can go online any day of the week and find millions of much better photos than I can provide. So I just haven't been using them. And because we were on the rail, I think, you know, it hit me there in Fresno. It's going to be a shame that if I do this entire tour without a couple little clips of, you know, James doing his thing or Kirk playing, Rob, any of them. And in the video I used a couple clips of James video footage. So guys, I hope you don't mind that. Here lately I have been sliding in a couple pictures here and there. But overall, the scope of the project has been and will remain Metallica fans. But I almost feel the need to throw you guys in there just a little bit. Quite a few of us met up outside and hung out for a little bit before we finally had to say goodbye for a couple weeks. Michelle and I finally made it back to the hotel, and although we stayed up pretty late that night, we got up really early. Her flight was pretty early, but we wanted to make sure we had time to get our coffee and all, get her down there on time. But when she went to check out, she walked over to take care of that. She found out that there was no one in the office to check us out. It was too early for that, and we hadn't encountered that one yet. That was kind of odd. So we basically just sat around for an hour or so watching the birds, literally. There was an incredible number of birds. I don't ever remember seeing that many birds in a city. I see that out in the cornfield all the time. But they were all over the place, and they didn't seem to mind the noises of the city. They were just going nuts. So the office finally opened up. Michelle went in and got checked out. When she came out, she was laughing. I mean, literally laughing pretty hard. And evidently, she wasn't the first one in the office. There was a guy ahead of her, and he was arguing with the guy that owned the hotel. The birds that we had just enjoyed for about an hour, they woke him up, and he wanted a full refund. And she found tremendous amusement in that, and I really enjoyed hearing her tell the story of the two guys arguing. And that may be irrelevant, but it's one of the things I'm never going to forget about Fresno. It was a pretty hilarious way to start my day. We finally got the car loaded up and we headed to the airport. And like I said earlier, I'm going to stop this one right here. And in a couple days, I'm going to post up a little short video explaining my trip from Fresno back to Mascoutah. There were definitely a couple noteworthy things that happened. But as for the show in Fresno, it was a great way to cap the third leg of the tour. It was a great way to close out 2018 being the final show of the year. I'd like to thank the crowd for hosting a pretty spectacular party in their hometown. That was the first Fresno show in, I believe, 10 years, and the level of energy in that building just screamed that you were more than happy for their return. More than happy and more than appreciative. Thank you for that intensity. To everyone else, I'd like to say, as always, thanks for watching. If you like what we have going on here, we would appreciate it greatly if you consider subscribing to the channel. Give us a like, a dislike, whatever the case may be. Leave us a message. Let us know how we're doing. If you find yourself in the video, feel free to share it to social media and help us grow the project. Next episode, The Long Trip Home. We'll see you there. Until then, rock on. So who are you and where are you from?
So I'm Svet. My name is Svetoslav. I'm from Bulgaria originally. I've been living from Bulgaria. That's the Bulgarian chapter, Harvester of Sorrow.
There you go.
Harvester of Sofia, actually. I've been living here in the States for quite some time, 18 years, from the East Coast, Connecticut.
You like it?
Yeah, so far, so good.
My name is Adrian Jimenez, and I'm from Moreno Valley, California.
Lauren Loiza, and I'm from Reno Valley, California.
Well, everybody calls me Red. You're from here in Fresno, California.
Mo, from San Jose.
Originally?
Yeah, originally from San Jose, LA, but we're here in Fresno.
My name is Leandro. I'm from Brazil, São Paulo, actually, the city.
How long have you been a Metallica fan?
I would say maybe since 8th or 9th grade. That would be like maybe 1989.
So have you seen them live before?
Well, before, yeah. It's not the first time for me. Like, actually, it's going to be my 60th show.
Tonight's your 60th show.
60th show.
Congrats on that.
I would say my first album was maybe when I was 10. 15 years, I guess.
I would say as long as I've been, I guess, knowing about music, so probably about like 5 or 6, just because my parents listen to them, so I've always been around them.
Okay. Have you seen them live before?
I've seen them 4 times.
Seen them 8 times.
Right on.
Oh.
12. I was 12. 11 or 12.
Yep, same time.
See, you've seen them before live?
Uh-huh.
Do you have a number? Allow all these guys count?
It's
just
I've
a
seen
point
them-
of reference.
This is going to be my 6th time. This is going to be her 3rd time.
I think so. Yeah.
No, 4th
Fourth
time.
time.
Alrighty. How long have you been a Metallica fan?
For a long time, almost 30 years.
Oh, how old are you?
Yeah,
You don't look it.
yeah. Actually, I'm 39. This is my concert number 8. 6 times, actually 5 times in Brazil and 3 times in US.
As you say that, I see your necklace. What is that?
Well,
Can you
that's
zoom in on that?
most people would recognize it.
Yes, they do.
Our favorite Doris.
Caught me.
Lady Justice.
Where'd you get that?
It's a special gift. Actually, it was given to me not long ago for my 45th birthday from my best friend, who actually was the first one to give me a Metallica tape to listen to.
Whoa, you're reading my mind.
Yeah.
That was one of my questions. You want to give him a shout out? What's his name?
Ivailo Gogov.
Right on. And
I
he's
hope I see a few more concerts with him together.
he's the one that first turned you on to the band.
Yep,
That's a good friend. But no, that's
best friend.
That's a that's a nice necklace. Is there one person in your life that turned you on to him?
My parents, more so my dad, because he's more into that type of music, metal, so. Yeah.
All right.
For me, it was my cousin. He brought me a CD full of a whole bunch of songs, and one of them was Mr. Sandman. And then after that, I just went out and bought Kill 'Em All.
All right. Filled in the whole collection.
And my first time was listening to Unjustice for All album.
Okay.
My cousin was a big Metallica fan, so he just put, one on the radio, and I was...
So that was one of my questions. I'm going to skip to that. So your cousin is pretty much your first exposure.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite song? Can you narrow it down to one song?
It's not, well, maybe 2 or 3. Orion is one of them. To Live is to Die, for sure. Maybe most of the songs on the Justice album.
Alrighty. So that leads me
Best
to...
song,
go ahead.
maybe for me from the last album, from Hardwired, is Spit Out the Bone, Murder 1 2. I wish I see it live, but
So those are
maybe sometime.
those
soon.
are just your favorite on Hardwired, or those go right up with your all-time favorite?
I'm not sure. Like, they go up and down. Like, I probably have like a bunch of songs that I would like to listen to more than the others.
60 or 70 favorite songs?
More like probably dozen.
Okay.
Something like that. It's not easy. It's definitely not one definite. It's like it's Metallica. Every song is great. It's hard to pick.
Love that answer. How about, well, same thing, favorite album?
Definitely Injustice for All.
Don't even have to think
Maybe
about it.
because it was the first one that I heard.
Yeah,
Also because Lars's drums there.
he's killing it.
Uh-huh.
How about a favorite band member, past or present? Any of them?
That's also not easy question. A lot of times my favorite, sometimes it changes. Sometimes it would be James. I don't know. He felt like I don't need to pick one to be my favorite.
They do gel as a group quite nicely.
Exactly.
Your favorite member is Metallica. There we
Right
go.
there.
Okay,
And the 5th members that are all here.
there you go.
For me, it would have to be Dyer's Eve.
I haven't heard that one yet.
No?
Maybe once. But yeah, no, that's excellent.
Mine's Damaging.
You guys make a nice couple. Heck yeah. How about favorite album?
Red Lightning.
Red Lightning.
Didn't even have to think about it. A lot of times people want to kick me.
No, we've already talked about this.
Okay, so
Yeah.
conclusively it's Ride the Lightning.
Yeah.
Excellent. How about favorite band member, past or present? All the way back to, you can say Lloyd Grant if you want. Anybody who's ever been a member.
James Hetfield.
That's your band?
James Hetfield.
That's my man.
Okay. You guys are the perfect couple. Can you narrow it down to a favorite song?
Nothing else matters for me.
I can't narrow it down
because it's our wedding song.
I can't narrow it down because how do you narrow it down? There's so many great songs. I have certain things I can narrow down, like my favorite song to play on the drums is Leper Messiah, but as far as a favorite song to listen to, it just depends on my mood. If I'm mad, if I'm sad, you can't narrow it down.
Yeah. And you said it was our wedding, so you had a Metallica wedding?
I walked down the aisle to
It's black. Played on violins and a guitar.
Wow.
live. So
What
it
else
was really
about
nice.
What else about the wedding?
And
Was
then
Metallica.
Nothing Else Matters was played by my little brother on guitar and was sung by my niece.
Wow, that had to hit home probably as hard as you've ever heard it.
Yeah.
Here.
Well, you know, it was cool. I told him, hey, I want you to do the intro, little solo to Am I Evil? And then go into Nothing Else Matters. And
Crazy.
he did it.
Yeah.
And the family was all okay with it?
Oh yeah, everybody loved it.
I'll
Does it
bet
matter?
they did.
I know, it doesn't matter. Everything else doesn't matter.
There you go. How about favorite album? Can you narrow it down to that? Another trick question?
Yeah, I kind of want to go with Injustice for All.
Okay.
But sometimes I'm in a Master Puppets kind of a mood. But mainly Injustice for All.
Okay. Favorite album?
I love them all.
Hey, there you go. Perfect
Can't narrow
answer.
it down to one.
Hey, nice. How about favorite band member, past or present?
Love them all. Love them all.
Well, I would say Lars because I started playing the drums because I enjoy like Just for All, just the
Yeah.
rhythms. What really got me into the drums was obviously the one,
Yeah.
and I was like,
Sure.
I want to learn how to play that. And so that's kind of what started me into drums. And so that's what I would say is my favorite.
All
And he
right.
even played a Metallica song, the drums at our wedding.
Oh yeah,
At
we
the
rocked
end of the
out
night.
after all said and done. We started rocking out.
So-
Mueller started rocking out at our wedding.
Awesome. I wish I'd have known you
and our
guys
wedding
and gotten
papers
an
were
invite.
drumsticks.
That would have been a wedding to
Like a
remember.
Metallica wedding.
Yeah, that's what everybody remembers our wedding from. Was that was a heavy metal wedding.
Oh, that's a tough question.
It's a trick question.
I right now I'm enjoying Welcome Home Sanitarium.
Okay.
That's my
We heard that the other night.
Yes, that's correct.
How about favorite album?
Ride the Lightning.
Didn't have to think about that. It is Ride the Lightning.
It's Ride the Lightning. Yes.
All righty.
It's
How
great.
about favorite band member, past or present?
Oh yeah, James Hetfield.
That's the man.
Yeah, it's the past and present. Of course, Cliff Burton, but
Uh-huh.
right now, from the ones that is on stage, it's James Hetfield.
We come from all walks of life as Metallica fans. What do you do for a living?
Well, I'm an electronics engineer. I work for a small company. We make industrial control equipment.
Full career? That's what you've done?
That's what I went to college to study, and I got lucky to find a job that's kind of interesting for me and
Yeah.
works for me pretty good.
Did you go to college?
I went
Here?
in Bulgaria
Okay.
to college, and then after college, few years later, I moved here.
I work at Amazon at a warehouse.
All right.
I'm an accountant
Oh.
at a shade company.
I'm a IT professional. Actually, I work for a software company in a sales position. So
Here in the States?
no, I'm based in São Paulo, Brazil, but I work for the whole Latin America. My company is from the United States, but I work from São Paulo.
Okay, so you pretty much travel the world, probably.
Yes, I travel all around the Americas, actually.
Okay, there you go. Brewer, Jim Brewer and Joe Sib. What do you think of those guys and their show? What did you think when you first heard it? And now what do you think now that you've seen it?
Well, I've seen Jim Brewer on a few times even before this tour.
Yes.
So I was like, it's gonna be okay. Now after I've seen it like 14 times already, I'm like, I don't die to go there 7 o'clock and see him, but if I'm there, I don't mind, and I like that from time to time he changes the stuff. It's not
he does mix it up well.
exactly the same, so he throws the good jokes.
Okay, it gives you a little extra time to maybe to go grab a beer, something like that maybe.
That's good, but then you have to find a place to unload the beer, and it's not that easy when you're right there on the rail.
I'm with you on that. What do you think about Brewer? Jim Brewer opening up for Metallica. What do you think about that?
The comedian, right?
Yeah.
It's new. Looking forward to it, actually. So, yeah.
Open-minded.
I know he's done it before, but I haven't been to a show where he's opened for them. But I've seen his interviews with them, and they're pretty funny, so it should be fun.
Open-minded.
Yeah, I know they're opening, and
Yeah.
I like it. It's gonna be different. I like the idea of having a comedy show to get everybody loosened up. and not wasting your energy on Metallica. I know in past shows you kind of want to cheer and give support to whatever band it is, but this way I get to kind of conserve my energy and just let it all out for Metallica.
He gets to save his voice.
Yeah, save my voice.
Once they come out, that's it. His voice is gone.
It's all him though. You don't do any yelling.
Oh yeah.
You
I
behave.
remember out
Oh, there you
too,
go.
huh?
But you
the next day.
you
no voice.
persevere. Okay, doesn't get you till the next day.
And then I always cry.
So,
I hear our wedding song. That's all.
There you go. You're gonna be crying tonight. I hope.
No,
I
not
hope we hear
crying,
that.
but just cheer
No,
up.
I understand what you meant.
Can't mess up the makeup. No, I'm fine.
All right.
Plus, I'm super excited. I got the meet and greet. So,
Oh,
yes.
Today?
Yeah,
Yeah.
today.
I was one of
Have
the
you met him
lucky
before?
5. No. So I was one of the lucky
so you
5.
gets to meet him.
So I'm excited.
what are you getting signed?
We have a So What book from 2004 edition
Yeah,
and a Hardwired album.
that's good.
I don't
Nice
know.
choices.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, you're gonna priceless.
I know he was.
Are you
all-
mad at her?
It's the weirdest feeling. It is the weirdest feeling because I'm jealous but happy. I'm like, oh yeah. I'm happy for her, but
At the same time, it's a sweet. It's a love-hate relationship right now.
Yeah, but you guys are a Metallica couple. I get the feeling the we or the I truly became we, so you're gonna
Yeah.
be there, dude.
Yeah, I'll
In
be there in spirit.
It's not helping. Not helping though, is it?
No, it's not.
He was all like, "Let's see, we're conjoined twins." I'm like, "Oh, that doesn't sound right at all."
Oh, no.
I'm married to my twin.
I was trying to think of ways to gimmick my way in there. I'm like, just say you're paraplegic and I have to wheel you in.
Oh wow,
Then he's like, "Just take me in a coffin." I'm like, "What?"
they're going way deep, folks.
Yeah.
No, that's good.
So-
But no, you're gonna love it. Congrats on that. Sorry,
Thank you.
sorry about your loss.
And it was,
That's all
no,
right.
it was funny because
Next
he
time.
did it first thing in the morning, and then he told me later in the day, "Oh, don't forget to do it."
Well,
And
hey,
then I went.
they're done it.
That's why when I said, "I go check your email." He's like,
Well, no, you're gonna get your time.
Yeah, one.
Always happens for a reason.
Yeah.
Alrighty. And,
Before I saw some videos on YouTube just to get familiar before the concert.
Uh-huh.
I think he's a funny guy, but seeing him like the fourth time, I'm kind of bored of that. So I prefer to have a band instead of Jim Brewer.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I always say about that, and this is your interview, not mine, but if you get a bad band, you're in trouble that way too.
Yeah, that's
That's
correct.
kinda
But
like-
it could be Ghost.
Yeah. You like ghosts?
Yes, I do.
Or did you get a European black ticket?
I'm trying to. I'm still defining my vacations, so
Gotcha.
just to decide which leg I can take.
Yep.
But I'm probably there.
Yeah, they're still available. That's hard to believe.
Yes, it's hard to believe. It's like 2 months selling, right? And it's still
Yep.
available. Yeah.
3 bands in your life other than Metallica. Your 3 favorite bands.
Halloween, that was my first band that I started to listen to, even
Okay.
before Metallica. Then it's a whole bunch of them. But yeah, AC/DC and Judas Priest and Iron Maiden. Maybe Iron Maiden would be,
That's in my
There.
top 3 as well.
yeah.
Favorite opening act at the shows you've been to?
Yeah, I have to say Gojira.
Okay, that was last year?
Yeah.
Where'd you see them?
Pasadena, San Diego.
All right. 3 other bands that you guys are really into.
Godsmack.
Godsmack. We've seen Godsmack about 6 times. Actually, we saw Godsmack about a month before our wedding.
Yes.
All right.
I don't know about her, but unfortunately, I'll never get to see them live unless they regroup. But Mudvayne, I really enjoy Mudvayne.
Yeah.
Again, I won't get to see them live unless
Yeah.
they come back together as a band.
Anybody else?
Right now, I'm starting to get into Royal Blood.
Okay.
I saw them actually before Metallica at the Outside Lands, and that was my.
impressive.
I've heard them before, but I was really impressed with their performance.
Yeah.
So
I've had other people say that.
Yeah.
I need to check into it myself because of that.
really good live.
3 bands in your life, your 3 favorite bands other than
Yes.
Metallica.
Other than Metallica, Rush is my second preferred band. Iron Maiden and Black Sabbath.
That's a nice 3.
Yeah.
If the band members themselves should happen to see this at any point in the future, do you have a message for them?
The only thing I could say is thank you guys for all that you do, for all us, the fans. And I wish you keep doing it for many more years.
Perfect.
It's
man.
not gonna be an easy without you.
Could not have said that better
Yep.
myself.
This is actually the hardest thing ever.
Just don't stop.
I've always tried to think of something to say if I ever met them, but I don't know. There's just too many things
Probably pass
that
out.
I could, I could say. But yeah, just keep going, keep making music. You guys are great. Love you guys.
If Metallica themselves should happen to see this, do you have a message for them?
I love you all. You guys make awesome music.
I would say
Rock
thanks,
on.
thanks for the years and years of entertainment, and sometimes even helped me through some tough times and even hurt some tough times. And actually, thanks for bringing us together, because
That's what
the main
made
thing
us-
that got us in common. That just
When he found out I knew Metallica and I was sitting there singing them, he's all,
I was
what?
love struck.
And he's like, I was like, yeah, I listen to them.
Yeah, you're
I
giving.
wouldn't look like I would, but oh yeah, I was sitting there singing them all. And he's like, what the heck? And that we were compatible from that
Yes,
moment
I
on.
see the energy, and it truly gives me goosebumps. That's cool. If the band themselves should happen to see this, do you have a personal message for them?
Guys, please come down to Brazil more frequently. We in Brazil are passionate about you, and so I'd love to see you guys down more frequently.